Well, New Democrats will not be recognized as an official party in the House of Commons. That decision delivered by the government House Leader today, Steve McKinnon. Now, the NDP won only 7 seats in the general election, 5 less than what's needed to be recognized as an official party. But the interim NDP leader had hoped that an exception could be made, but again, that exception will not be made. And to talk about this right now is the interim leader for the NDP, Don Davies. Don, thank you for making your way to studio.
Nice to be with you, Michael.
So, you know, I have to begin first and foremost with your reaction to the very fact that the government, despite the arguments you have made, will not be recognizing the NDP as an official party in the Commons.
Well, first of all, that's not exactly what the government has said. What they said was that to recognize us as an official party would require a legislative change and that they couldn't do so unilaterally. So that's what actually Steve McKinnon, the House Leader for Liberals, did say today. But, you know, it's not really about that. It's there's other routes that are available to us. What we're really interested in as the New Democrats is to bring the voices of 1.2 million Canadians who voted for us, all those working families who want us to advocate for affordable housing, for good family-sustaining jobs, better health care, to bring that voice effectively to the House of Commons. And what we're seeking is the tools that will help us to do that. And those tools are available to us through the Board of Internal Economy. And so there's different routes to getting those resources that we need, and we're having fruitful discussions with all the parties towards that goal.
Okay, so discussions that might get you resources, which is given to parties that have official recognition in the Commons. But let me get back to what you said earlier, because my read of it was that Steve McKinnon said he would not be officially, not extend the official party status because that would be not following the law. So does that mean then you're going to pursue a change in that law if he talks about not legislatively acceptable as it currently stands?
No, the government controls resources, and they do so through the Board of Internal Economy, which it also operates under its own bylaws. And again, what we're interested in is getting the legislative research and communication support that we need to do our job and deliver for Canadians. And there are no hard and set rules for that. There are 7 of us as a national party, and the recognized party definition in the Parliament of Canada Act really is just one route. The other route that's available is through the Board of Internal Economy, and governments can control how those resources go. I would hasten to point out, Michael, that one thing that's very important to consider about this is we're in a minority parliament. Mm-hmm. And the Liberals have 169 seats, we have 7. You need 172 to get things passed. So I think it's in everybody's interest that the parties who are able to be a balance of power have the ability to function. You know that Parliament is very complex. It moves fast and it changes. And so all we're asking for is the ability to understand what legislation is coming, to be able to analyze it properly so we can be a reliable actor in Parliament. And again, most parties are in agreement with that.
Okay, so very quickly then, are you going to drop legislative change to try to get the official? I know there's an alternate way to get the funding that you're looking for, yeah. But does that mean that the negotiations to get official status are now off the table? That's not going to happen.
No, I think they're still on the table. It's just one route. I mean, it seems like getting a change to the legislation, Michael, is a long shot, but there are other routes. I mean, we're happy with whichever.
But if the Liberals and you united on that legislative change, you have a majority to make that happen.
It could happen. Yeah, it could happen. But there's different routes for this. And again, you know, we're going to do our job no matter what. I mean, we're going to bring those voices to Parliament no matter what. We just think that having the tools that we need to be effective advocates for those policies is good for Canadians, good for Canada, good for Parliament. So that's our argument.
Is there horse trading happening now then? Are you talking to the government about helping them pass a legislative agenda in order to get official status?
Not at all, no. In fact, we've ruled that out, and so have the Liberals. We're not pursuing any kind of agreement. What we're saying is that in a fluid environment like this, making sure that we know when the votes are. We can properly assess legislation that's being brought forward. We can, you know, we understand when changes are happening in Parliament will only help the New Democrats function better. And again, our priority is, you know, how do we get affordable housing? How do we get better jobs for Canadians? How do we improve our healthcare system? How do we have a better, united, strong, independent Canada in the face of Mr. Trump's threats? That's the New Democrats' real motivation here. And we don't apologize for trying to get the tools that we need to improve our ability to do that. So we're going to keep doing it.
I guess part of the problem, or the sticking point for me, is that without official party status, you are not guaranteed a question during QP. You are not necessarily guaranteed a spot in committee. How do you effectively make the argument for your party if you're not seen daily asking questions, raising questions at the committee level? How do you prevent being ignored?
Well, actually, the part of this discussion that we opened up, Michael, is already bearing fruit in that regard. So, for instance, to your question, we found out just about an hour ago that the independents in Parliament, as we're referred to, will get 8 questions a week. So the NDP being 7 will get 7 questions a week, which means we're going to be in question period every single day. In fact, twice a day on some days. So these are the kind of accomplishments, these are the kind of products that happen when we talk to one another. And so the NDP is going to be a voice in question period every day. Committees are another issue, you're right. That remains unresolved at this point. But we're going to be in question period. We're going to have statements in the House. We're going to be active participants in debate. And we're going to be a strong national voice for working people in this country. And this is something that we don't apologize to anybody for pursuing. It's going to make Parliament and government better.
Yeah, and I will say, and I completely have respect for the agenda that you're setting out for yourself for Canadians across this country. But I do wonder, your party has been reduced. It's now just 7 seats, down from 25. What would you have done better? What do you think the party could have done better in the last election? Because it didn't have to be this way.
Yeah, that's a fair question, Michael. And we had a tough election. There's no hiding that. That's why I think as leader of the party for an interim period, it's very important for us to create an honest, thorough assessment to understand where we came from. And I think just as importantly, to chart a path forward so that we can have a renewed reimagining of a progressive option for Canadians. So I don't want to second guess or second guess isn't the right word. I don't want to anticipate what our membership would have input into that question, because I do think it's important to talk to members across this country, supporters, grassroots activists, progressive allies, and get their views on where we failed to connect with people. My own view, and I think we get a lot of agreement for this, is somehow there's been a disconnect between the NDP and our working class base. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. And that's something that I personally want to address right away, regardless of any kind of evaluation process. I'm going to meet people in where they work, in at union meetings, in gig workers, service sector workers, healthcare workers, public sector workers, go in and meet them where they're at and start reconnecting and listening to workers to find out where did we go wrong and how can we reconnect.
Okay. Well, Don Davies, we will speak more during this Parliament. Thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Always a pleasure, Michael. Thank you.